Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another episode of Unger the Radar, where we talk all things film. And as always, I have a wonderful panel of guest critics tonight. He's been away for a while, but we're so happy he's back, Mr. CJ Oakland. CJ, welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't been on the podcast in way too long.
I know, but better late than never. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, I'll try to pop in when I can.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And we have the ultimate power couple, Rachel Kolb and Eric Godfrey. Welcome back, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you guys again.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight, but as always, I like to do a weekly watches, basically what we're watching this week. And CJ, since it's been a while for you, what have you been watching?
Well, I just started rewatching Doom Patrol on HBO Max. Very fun show. Love Brendan Fraser, Timothy Dalton. Just a lot of really good actors in there playing the strangest characters, in which honestly I really enjoy it. Like, there's so many weird things in kind of the DC superhero mythos that I really like. Some movies are good where it's like the Batman, like we want it to be as realistic as possible, and sometimes you just want to see the weirdest things of like just weird aliens and monsters and all this other stuff they threw together. So it's fun to just see a weird, unique show.
That's definitely on my list of stuff to watch. Is it in any way like the Peacemaker?
It's a very similar tone, like
Okay.
it's comedy kind of action, but I feel like it's a show about the people who are kind of put together as like a superhero team, but the point is they're really terrible and do not work well together. And it's not about them trying to be heroes. Like, they just deal with the strangest things that could ever be thrown at them.
Now, I'm bad with my DC lore in a lot of ways, but wasn't Doom Patrol the answer to the X-Men?
It was one or the other. I feel like one ripped off the other, and I can't
Yeah.
remember which way it was. I think it was Doom Patrol first, and then maybe X-Men,
Yeah,
or it was X-Men and then Doom Patrol. Like, I can't tell. They did that a lot.
Yeah, because I know that there's a lot of similarities between the two, which I mean, there's always a lot of similarities between the big two, but I know as far as I've seen a little bit of Doom Patrol, but I can definitely see where it's very much the X-Men, the misfits having to gather themselves up to do stuff.
I think a good definition is that Doom Patrol is definitely a shittier X-Men, but that's by design. It's a very good show.
But it's a thing of where it's a lot of broken people having to figure their stuff out.
Well, it's also very like Guardians of the Galaxy,
Nice.
or like even Suicide Squad staying in the DC.
I watched some of the clips of Frasier in that for preparation for our Brendan Fraser show a couple weeks back. And it made me want to watch the whole series. It looks really entertaining and fun and really quirky. I love it.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Nice. Anything else, CJ?
I just started watching Bullet Train. It came out on Netflix. I saw it in the theaters, really enjoyed it. It's just a fun, dumb action movie. It's like trying to do that like quirky comedy action thing that kind of like Deadpool did, but I think they get like an 8 out of 10. Like, they do a really good job with it. It's not perfect, but it's a fun time.
Okay. Good to know. And I'm kind of surprised how quickly it came to streaming. That's pretty, because it was in theaters just a few months ago.
I mean, that seems to be how it's going now.
Yeah, which is good. People who don't want to go to the theater. But Rachel, how about you? What have you been watching?
So I unexpectedly had to take a trip, and sorry. So I actually found myself watching a couple movies on planes. Fortunately, shout out to Delta, they actually had a really good selection of movies. So I got to watch Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Awesome.
Which I definitely want to rewatch again on a bigger screen than the one that I was watching it on. But it was very sweet. It definitely made me a little emotional.
Yep.
Had a few tears.
Yep.
And on the other complete opposite end of the spectrum, I also ended up watching Bodies, 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 Bodies.
Right. I have been meaning to see that as well. That's also an A24 release. Is that a horror comedy thriller?
Yeah, it's definitely, well, it's definitely a Gen Z specifically comedy thriller, like comedy horror, I would say. Like, definitely falls into the slasher category. Basically, the setup is that it's a bunch of Gen Zers, very wealthy, very privileged, hanging out in a friend's mansion and trying to ride out a hurricane. and they decide to play this game called Bodies, and they and it's basically a game where someone goes around, taps someone on the shoulder, and they die, and everybody else has to try to figure out who the killer is.
Wow.
And someone actually turns up dead, and everyone starts pointing fingers.
Okay. Sort of like Clue in a way, in a weird way. Ish.
I'm trying to think of a good comparison to
It's
it.
kind of like if you were watching and then there were none, but shot on like TikTok.
Oh,
Like I
okay.
feel like that's a good way to describe Bodies. It was a fun one though.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why I keep mixing up. I always forget if it's 3 or 4 bodies in the
Yeah.
I think
title.
it's three. I think it's three.
Yeah, I heard you had
Yeah.
one extra Bodies in there. I'm like, oh, is that going to be the sequel? You just
Oh
keep
my
making them
gosh.
longer and longer.
More bodies.
Yes.
But yeah, also backing up a bit, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. It's probably number 2 on my list of the year, next, right behind Everything Everywhere All at Once. Both A24 releases, and you know, I've praised this distribution company on many a show, and pretty much I think every movie that they've released has been great, or at least very, very good. So yeah, I'm excited to see what else they have in store. Mr. Godfrey, how about you, sir? What are you watching this week?
My prep for the new Doctor continues. I finally finished off the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, for Doctor Who for his final Christmas special. So I've moved on to the most recent, the 13th Doctor, Jodie, and I'm getting ready for next year, even though it's still a well over less than a year away. I'm still very excited for Doctor Who to come to now Disney Plus.
Cool. Are they going to have all the seasons?
They haven't said. They've only said that the new stuff is going to be on Disney Plus, but all the new Who is on HBO Max. I would love for if Disney got all the new stuff and classic stuff to just have a giant, basically repository for Doctor Who. That would be fantastic. Because the problem is that Netflix used to have all the classic ones, but I don't know if there's an easy way to stream the classic Doctor anymore.
And what it started in the 70s, right? The Doctor Who series.
I think
Even
earlier
further
than that. I
back,
think it was in
even
the
further back
50s.
than that,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
because-
60s.
Wow.
Yeah, 50s, 60s.
because the Daleks were modeled on the Nazis. So
And are all the seasons connected to each other, or is it like multiverse type?
It's all one giant story. The
That's
Doctor
crazy.
does what the Doctor does. Then there was that brief, and then there's the break when it got canceled between, and then restarted by Davies with the Ninth Doctor.
Okay. Well, I hope it comes to streaming soon. Like, you know, you got Seinfeld, you've got The Simpsons. I think they have all like what 35 seasons of The Simpsons on Disney Plus or something. Like
Yeah,
that?
they do.
yep.
Yeah.
Like,
But no, I mean, to be fair, you can watch all the new Doctor Who, which are on HBO. It started from Eccleston, Tennant, Smith, Capaldi, and now Jodie, and it's well worth your time. You can start off with the Ninth Doctor without having experienced the show before. It'd be just fine. That's the show was when they rebooted it, they knew they didn't expect anyone to have 50 years of Doctor Who knowledge.
Yeah, the early stuff is hard to watch because it was supposed to be like educational. Like it's kind of just like, oh,
Yeah.
like a few like historical figures, and it's
Yep.
very poorly acted for a 1960s British kind of sitcom. So it's very hard watching some of those early ones.
Oh yeah, well,
They're not really necessary. But yeah, the new stuff has been great. I've been a fan for a while.
cool.
And I'm very excited for Davies to take over showrunner again and to see this new Doctor in action.
Nice. I'm excited too. I'm excited to get into it. Honestly, I've only caught like just a handful of episodes, and it's a very unique, distinct style and sense of humor.
Yes.
But I kind of like it, so I'm gonna.
But you gotta find out who your doctor is. That's the whole point of watching. Find out who your favorite is.
I'll get back to you on that one. Nice. All right. So for me, you know, I'm always watching Seinfeld, and actually, I should back up a little bit. Yesterday morning, I went to a brunch screening of Die Hard at the Williamsburg location Nighthawk Cinema, which was incredible, by the way. I believe it was my first time seeing it on the big screen, and it was phenomenal, even though the picture wasn't great. It was kind of grainy at the 35 millimeters, but the audio was pretty good. So it was great seeing, arguably the best action movie ever made on the big screen. And actually, after that, I was in a Bruce Willis mode. I decided to check out an older film of his, one of his first movies, I think his first, Blind Date from 1987. And it's actually really, really bizarre. Blake Edwards directed it. Willis's character goes on a blind date with Kim Basinger's character, and she can't drink. Otherwise, if she drinks, she goes crazy, and they have this wild, crazy night on a town. But what was very interesting, I actually caught 3 supporting actors in the film were actually 3 supporting character actors from Seinfeld. And yeah. One of them was Babu Bhatt, you're a very bad man, very bad man. He was in it. Dwayne, the optometrist, was in it. And Kramer's caddy, when he goes golfing, was in it too. So at least 3 cameos in this movie. It was a little bizarre, but a really weird 80s comedy, Blind Date. I recommend it for you guys.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, it was cute. And also, aside from Seinfeld, which is, my daily life pretty much, The Big Brunch. Rachel, have you seen this wonderful cooking show yet?
I still have not. I still need to watch it. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but it is very much on my radar. So.
Yes, nice. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and the creations that they come up with are really fantastic. They look so good. And yeah, as you know, presentation is a huge part of it, plating and all that stuff. So that's cool. All right, guys. So with that said, why don't we get into our first movie review? And this one is currently streaming on Netflix. And I am talking, of course, about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is yet another retelling of the classic story of Geppetto and the wooden puppet who wishes to be a real boy. And you've got Guillermo at the helm here, and he's just crafted just a beautiful stop motion film that took him years to make. It definitely has his signature style. Very dark, very quirky and weird, otherworldly, fantastical. And it's a really nice, fresh take on the classic story. And I was really blown away. My only criticism, it was a little bit long. It clocked in at a little over 2 hours. I think they could have told the story in an hour, 40 minutes. But other than that, it's a fantastic film. I think it's going to be on my top 10 for the year. CJ, what did you think of Guillermo's take?
I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. Like, I love all his movies. I've been looking forward to this one as soon as it was announced, and honestly, it blew away my expectations. Like, everything I thought that this movie could be, it found a way to do it in a different way that was just so entertaining, so creative. I love the stop motion designs for all the characters were great. The voice acting was amazing. Obviously, so many actors that Guillermo del Toro has worked with came back for it. But yeah, it was such an interesting idea for Pinocchio that, like, we've seen the story done several times. And then for someone to do something completely different by simply saying, hey, what if Pinocchio, but set during Italy in World War II with the rise of fascism? And it just makes the story such a different take.
Right.
Because even going back to the Disney Pinocchio, the essence of it was just this little wooden boy given life, and he has no inner moral compass. He was just born. So the movie is him making mistakes, having to be told the right thing to do. And the lessons kind of come down to, obey your parents, obey your school teachers, and follow the rules. And then when you put that into the frame of what if it was a fascist state, then the idea of teaching this rebellious boy to follow all the rules, be obedient, don't stand out, do what we say, takes on a very horrifying element to it. And Pinocchio just wanting to do his own thing, standing up for what he finds he believes in, that becomes such a more powerful lesson than just, I've learned to blindly obey authority.
Right. Well put. And yeah, it's a classic story, obviously told in a slightly new way. And Del Toro, I don't know, this movie is it's not appropriate for young children, I don't think.
I mean, I think it is. That's the thing. There's definitely some moments where there's a lot, but it's the same thing of there are movies where it doesn't lie about what it's about.
Mhm.
It shows the fascism in there. Everything that
Yeah.
kind of happens in the original Pinocchio still happens here. It's like we have
Yeah.
the same beats. It's
Yeah,
just
I feel like people forget how much of a kind of scary fever dream even the original Disney
Oh,
one
yeah.
can be,
Yeah.
especially the Fantasy Island
oh
sequence.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Fantasy
The
Island
Pleasure
sequence is
Or
Island,
great.
Pleasure Island,
yeah.
sorry.
The whale, the chase with the whale is like it's terrifying even to watch
Yeah.
now. It's like, oh my god, this went so hard.
And
Yeah,
there's a
so like,
really-
well, I would say it is appropriate for family in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Like, it's
I mean,
definitely a darker story,
for
but
very young kids,
Mhm.
I think for very young kids, it might not be the best choice. You're gonna get some nightmares out of it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
maybe for very, very young, I would say no. I would put this in the category of something like, say, when I was young, that I watched Dark Crystal.
Mm.
Like something that
Yeah.
it's like you don't necessarily grasp all of the larger things going on in it, but that you'll remember images and you'll remember like moments from it will like really stick in your brain.
It's darker and for older kids, I'd say, not super young. But going back to the original Disney animated film, there's a scene where Pinocchio and I forget his name, Chadwick,
Candlewood.
Candlewick.
thank you. They're like smoking cigars, and it's like really
Yep.
they're like really sucking it down, and it's just, that was a little much for kids.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's showing them smoking and they're drinking and they're playing pool,
Right.
and then they get transformed into donkeys and sold off to mines to be worked because they're making jackasses of themselves. It's like, oh, here's
Literally.
what not to do. Don't gamble and drink and smoke, kids.
Yeah.
People will tell you to,
Right.
but don't do it. Like, that was the message.
True.
And then it's interesting where you get the new Disney Pinocchio, which was one of the most like imaginatively bankrupt movies I've ever possibly seen, where they decided that, oh, we're not going to feature any of that bad stuff happening. And in
Right.
fact, Pinocchio never actually makes a mistake at all. He
Mm.
inherently knows the right thing to do, and it's just
Right.
people putting him in bad situations. And then it's like, but he
Oh.
doesn't learn anything if he doesn't make mistakes.
So you go from a Disney that was willing to show all the vices and all that you can conquer, as bad as it might be for children to experience, to a new Disney that is so terrified of kids experiencing vices in their media that they just completely make a nothing out of it.
Yeah, I watched the Tom Hanks version last night in preparation to compare with both 2022 versions. It's the Hanks version is really terrible. It's just yeah, there's no originality there at all. It is Disney once again printing money. And I agree, this was the same with The Lion King, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast. Just really pointless reinterpretations.
See, I would disagree with a few of those. This is a whole other side topic, but
Yeah.
I did actually really like Aladdin and I did enjoy Beauty and the Beast.
Really?
I can see your point with Lion King as far as the actual filmmaking. I liked some of the performances in that one. And I'm actually curious if there were any performances in the new Disney Pinocchio that were at least trying to bring something to it.
So I respect what Hanks tried to do, and he's my favorite actor, but this could have been done by any other older actor. Let me see here. So
Yeah, there was kind of like no meat to the writing of Geppetto. They
Yeah.
basically decided the first 20 minutes will be about explaining his backstory, but in the most like lazy show don't tell kind of way. Like, did you ever wonder when Geppetto had to go take a boat out to find Pinocchio so he gets eaten by the whale, how he was able to buy the boat? The Disney movie explains it to you by having a
What?
guy show up and wanting to buy all the clocks. It's like, I'll buy all your clocks for so much money. You could buy a big boat. And he's like, no, I don't want to sell my clocks. And then later, when he's at sea, it's like, he sold the clocks and made a lot of money so he could buy a big boat. Disney had to spend time explaining that. And it's like, it's so bad. There
Yeah,
are so many things that like no one questions.
and
And then like, we need to explain this because it wasn't properly explained. And that's not how you make a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
plus, it's also one of my favorite filmmakers as well behind, on the helm here, Robert Zemeckis, who, I mean, Rachel, I know you told me earlier today that you liked A Christmas Carol, his version of it.
I did. It's
yeah.
not my favorite one, but I remember seeing the trailers for it and thinking this was going to be the worst thing I'd ever seen. And then I watched it and I was like, this is actually not like this is actually pretty good.
Right. Well,
Oh, that was
visually,
the Jim Carrey one, right?
yeah. From
Yeah, I like that
2009.
one. Like, it's definitely a weird one, but I like the
Yeah.
like as uncanny valley as the CGI was. It's like there was a lot of like visual flair in there. There was some interesting things with character.
Right.
It wasn't bad. That I would take that over being forced to watch the live action Pinocchio one
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And weirdly, there was a special feature on the Blu-ray of Christmas Carol, the Jim Carrey Christmas special, where you could see side by side the finished product and them filming on the green screens, like actually see the actors acting it out with all the dots and everything. And I was like, you know what? I just want to watch the actors.
Mhm.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
for all of the visual stuff that you have going on in the finished product, like the most compelling part about this for me is like just watching the performances. So it's funny because it's like the movie succeeds almost in spite of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally disappointed with Zemeckis in the past decade. He really has not impressed me at all. The Witches was probably a low point for him, in my opinion. But
I completely forgot about the witches. I
Yeah.
actually didn't
Yeah.
hate the witches, but it definitely wasn't as good as it could have been.
true.
I didn't get to see it, and I think they pulled it off HBO already because it's part of the tax cuts they did was just erase so much
Yeah.
stuff,
Yep.
which is a whole nother thing to talk about.
Sure.
Well, you're not missing much, CJ.
But I feel like but as far as Guillermo's
Guillermo's
Guillermo's,
is
Yeah,
so
back to the
inventive.
topic
I
at
mean,
hand.
Yes.
I completely agree about the just changing the setting to set it in a fascistic state. And the second the word obey comes up, you just like, well, that takes on a whole new. I completely you're right that it put so much stuff into perspective, and even and just and so what I could not get over was the stop motion. It's one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in so long, and every character has such life, and it's such a beautiful movie.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and
yeah, sorry.
and I think that the immediate not only bringing in, of course, Mussolini and that fascist regime, but also having the Catholic Church being a part of it from the very beginning of the movie, I think was really amazing too, because it gets into something that I think that a lot of people want to forget, which is that at best the Catholic Church was complicit, and at worst they were enabling a lot of fascist regimes at that time. So it was really like, it was a very jarring sight to see a moment with them doing the Hiles and for there to be a priest alongside that's just like, oh sure, like just Heil,
Yeah.
and yeah.
But yeah, I guess there is a slight political or spiritual message here. But,
I mean, yeah, just a slight
just a slight.
political message.
The
Yeah.
fact that a movie
Yeah.
that literally has Mussolini show up to a puppet show.
But young kids aren't going to grasp that.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you have that kind of stuff going today where like so many politicians are going back to the far right stuff and starting to say like, yeah, World War II wasn't that bad. Maybe the Nazis were onto something. And that's a big red flag for a lot of reasons. And I think it's fine that movies don't have to just ignore that you can just make a movie where like, oh yeah, no, Mussolini's terrible. The fascists are idiots. Let's go ahead and show that.
It is interesting that how much Del Toro is very much a person who is about anti-fascism. Whether it's this and Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh yeah, I definitely
just
saw
how
parallels
much-
there with
Yeah,
Pan's Labyrinth and just fascist Spain.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it's just I cannot say enough good things about this movie.
Yeah.
And especially my weird absolute love for Ian McGregor's Sebastian J. Cricket.
Oh
Just
yeah, that was
constantly
so fun.
Yeah.
the world dumping on him, and I love all of his little the world is pain, life is suffering.
I'd say he was voice wise, he was the best in the film. I wanted to the whole movie.
Tough because I love David Bradley as
Yeah,
Geppetto.
I don't
Yeah.
want David Bradley to get overlooked in this because he's incredible as
He was
Geppetto.
so good. Like I didn't realize who he was at first, and then it's like, oh, it's this actor, and he does such a
Right.
great job. Like I
Well,
could see him
it's-
playing this live action, but just
Yeah.
the stop motion character design of Geppetto, the story they wrote for him, like it's such a good take.
It's funny because the tie-in is with Doctor Who. David Bradley is the new version of the first Doctor, who was played by William Hartnell, passed away
Oh, I
a
didn't know
long
that.
time
That's
ago.
awesome.
So they did a really nice TV movie called Adventures in Time and Space, which was the telling of the creation of Doctor Who, in which he played William Hartnell. And it's a great movie if you get a chance to watch it. I don't know where it is. It's a really good movie. But in the actual show, he's now the first Doctor whenever they need him. So he actually showed up in the final episode of Capaldi. And so I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, hey, I know that David Bradley. I just saw him in Doctor Who.
And he was also in Harry Potter, right? He played.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, he's Filch in Harry Potter.
Nice. Yeah, very talented. He was the perfect voice of Geppetto,
Mhm.
I'd say. And the stop motion looked great. It matched his facial expressions perfect. Like it just felt like him. And just the
And-
attention to detail. Like I saw a behind the scenes featurette about
I want to watch that so bad.
it's great.
When I went to watch this movie, I was watching with my brother, and we saw that, and I had the behind the scenes thing, and he said like, we don't even have to watch the movie. Let's just watch the behind the scenes thing first. And we watched the movie, and I still have to watch it. But I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah, that I want to see how that's made.
Yeah, and
Because
oh my God,
this is one of those ones I need to know how they did some there's such an attention to detail.
yes,
Yeah.
the attention to detail is so strong here. Just painting the little, eyebrows on Pinocchio. It's crazy how much time and effort was taken into this production. It's just mind-boggling. I
Yeah,
love
just
it.
every set is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
and even just like the fact that they let his hair look like both a kid's like just unbrushed, just wild spiky hair, and also the fact that it works as a piece of wood that has been carved, that
Right.
it would
Yeah.
actually would look like that, and that the back of his head you could see the rings in the trunk.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's
And
such
you
a
know
good
what?
design.
I saw some images from the original book from the 1880s.
Yeah.
And this is pretty close to it. Visually, it looks like it was taken right out of the book. And I respect Guillermo for that choice. It works extremely well. And I wanted to talk briefly about another adaptation that I saw today. Actually, it was the Jonathan Taylor Thomas version. From
Wasn't there also Roberto Benigni's?
oh yeah.
Well, my question about the Jonathan Taylor Thomas one is that the one that also has Drew Carey in it, or am I thinking of another one?
No, I didn't see Drew Carey.
I think you're thinking of another one.
There is a musical that they made for Wonderful World of Disney that stars Drew Carey
I got
as
it.
Geppetto.
I can
Oh
see
wow.
that. Wait, was that like the live filming of it? Like
It
Peter.
wasn't a live filming of it, but it was like a live action,
Mhm.
like basically made for TV movie.
Oh
Like,
man,
and it was a musical too, which everyone was like, can Drew Carey sing? And it's like, nah, he can't really.
oh my god.
Oh my gosh, we have another Seinfeld connection here. We have, is that Julia
That's
Louis?
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing the Blue Fairy in this
Ooh,
adaptation.
Wow. Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
What year was that?
Oh,
Like late 90s?
2000.
The
2000.
year 2000.
All
In the year
right.
2000.
That's awesome. I'm gonna look for that
That-
one. There's that, and there's
Also,
a,
Wayne Brady and Usher.
nice.
Well, yeah, it's a 2000
time.
movie. That just makes sense.
And there was a 2009 miniseries starring Bob Hoskins as Geppetto, which
Man,
I need to find that immediately. That sounds awesome. But
Yeah.
Pinocchio. I again agree. You're right. Pinocchio has been told a lot of times, and so I think going back to that original source material, going back to the original fairy tale or book, and then still slapping that enough of a unique identity on it, Del Toro just makes it his
Yes,
own.
but I do want to mention, he did have a co-writer in this
Yes.
endeavor, Patrick McHale, who is best known for Over the Garden Wall
Yes.
and Adventure Time. He is a
Okay.
co-writer on this, and his like, if you know that he's written this, you just see his stamp everywhere.
Oh yeah, I
particularly-
got it right away. I love Over the Garden Wall. I watch it with my friends every autumn. Like it's such a perfect series, and the writing and design is so good. And this had so much of that like fairy tale kind of flavor in there.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm gonna check that out. What was it called again, Rachel? The
Oh, Over the Garden Wall.
yes, thank you. Adding
I think
that.
it's-
Yes,
that's
And
that-
also,
It's on Disney, right?
No, it's on. It's either I think it's Hulu or it's on HBO Max. I can't
I
remember
think
which.
you're right. I think it's on because Adventure
Yeah,
Time.
it's HBO Max. Yeah,
Right.
that's where it is.
All right.
Yeah, it's 10 episodes. They're 11 minutes each. You could just sit down, watch them all. It has such like an autumn feeling to the series that
Right.
is really perfect. It's just 1920s kind of Americana vibes mixed with fairy tales. It's a fun time.
All
Yeah,
right.
check it out.
Cool, definitely. So yeah, I would rank this, I mean, I'm not like a diehard Guillermo fan, but this movie is definitely making me into one. And I actually, in preparation for tonight as well, I watched for the first time Crimson Peak, which
Oh, nice.
was not bad. I kind of liked it. It had some great performances, great style about it, of course. Great like horror, drama, thriller, sort of a love triangle. But yeah, that's a great film. It was really interesting. Of course, Hellboy 2, Pan's Labyrinth is great, and yeah, he's.
And I was late to it last year, but I really liked his remake of Nightmare Alley.
Oh, that was so good.
That was good.
That was really
That was
good.
Yeah, I got to see Nightmare Alley like right when it came out, and then they did a special showing of it in like black and white, which
Mm.
usually whenever they do that in a movie, it's like, okay, they just turn off the colors and it's just a movie in black and white and doesn't really add anything.
Mhm.
When you put Guillermo del Toro's movie in black and white, you really see like all the set design. Like he pays so much attention to like where the shadows are, where
Yeah.
the kind of like colors and highlights are. Like you can tell this he puts so much into all of his shots, all the set direction, and kind of watching it in black and white really actually adds a lot of atmosphere to it because you see like just how precise of a filmmaker he is. It's so
He-
good.
He is definitely an auteur, I'd say. And also again, the Shape of Water, fantastic film. He won the
course.
Oscar for that, 2017.
Very
Uh,
deserved.
Yeah, I would compare him in the likes of maybe like Wes Anderson, that attention to detail and that love of cinema. It's so apparent in all of his films.
I would say I almost feel another contemporary of this would be Edgar Wright, where you just
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
feel how much like in both of them their love of cinema is just in everything they do.
and also their love of taking a known
Yep.
genre and known tropes and subverting them in
Mm.
different ways.
Okay.
Edgar Wright, of course, with like Hot Fuzz and like the buddy cop movie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
all
Guillermo-
action movies wrapped into one pretty much.
The, I think
Yeah,
they call it
exactly.
the
And, like-
Cornetto trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and since you just watched Crimson Peak taking, a dig at sort of classic romances like Wuthering Heights and Jane
Mm.
Eyre in
Yeah, and
particular.
just doing a lot of like the gothic kind of thriller series that has been
Yeah.
a staple for a long time, but hasn't really been a lot modern day.
Yeah.
And I would give a shout out to Guillermo's cinematographer, his production designer. I'm not sure if he reuses the same talent, but the relationship he has with these artists is it's just a great synergy about them. And I hope it continues for many, many more decades because he's phenomenal.
Plus
Yeah,
him and his greatest bromance of all time with him and Ron Perlman.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that every time like Guillermo del Toro works with an actor, like you'll see them like come up over and over again. Like he
Yeah.
just reuses so many people, and each time he just kind of keeps adding more to the roster because they clearly love working with him, and
Yeah.
they get to play such fun characters a lot of the time. So
Oh yeah.
That is the testament to true teamwork and devotion to a filmmaker, which is great.
Yeah.
You see that a lot,
You're absolutely right.
Woody Allen, Anderson, Scorsese, Spielberg to some extent, they like working together and they produce such great art. So keep doing it. It's awesome.
Yep, and the just a quick shout out, the cinematographer, a lot of his background is in animation, but most recently he did Kubo and the Two Strings.
oh, that was a good one.
Nice.
So
I love
you're
that one.
like,
Yep, yeah.
I think this has a really, really good shot at next year's Oscars. for best animated feature.
Oh,
Just
hopefully.
yeah, just a little prediction there. I hope it comes true. So yeah, we'll see. And yeah, I want to check out the Bob Hoskins version soon. And the Drew Carey. That sounds really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's gonna be on Disney Plus at some point. It feels like a deep dive for Disney Plus, but
Yeah.
who knows?
They should have released like not all, but like maybe a handful of the adaptations over the years, because they've been doing Pinocchio films since I think the 20s.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
they-
they have to make a movie every so often to be able to keep the rights pretty much, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that they recently they re-released the Brandy Cinderella, so I think they might
Oh, yeah,
be
that-
working their way
I
through
remember that.
some of those Wonderful World of Disney, ABC, like Sunday night movie tie-ins.
That was considered, it was a part of Wonderful World of Disney.
I told you.
Nice.
Yep.
Good times. Yeah, I
Songs by
remember.
Stephen Schwartz.
Yeah, that was around the time of TGIF. Was it the same era?
I
Wonderful
think
World.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would have been the same era.
good times. All right, so guys, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is now streaming on Netflix, and there's also that wonderful 30-minute behind the scenes featurette, which is very enlightening as well. So check that one out. And I think it's unanimous that we're all fans of Guillermo's take.
Loved it.
Yep.
Absolutely loved it.
Loved it. Great movie.
Hope it wins the Oscar. We'll see. All right.
I'll be rooting for it.
Yes, awesome. So guys, we're just gonna take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more movie reviews right after this.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Randy Younger Under the Radar, and we're halfway through. We're gonna be doing our second film review of the evening, and this is a slightly different movie from Pinocchio. It
Different
is,
flavor, you could say.
yes, different flavor. It's a dark one. It's sort of a black comedy horror film. It's called The Menu, and it starts Ralph Fiennes as basically a sadistic chef in a very, very swanky, fancy restaurant on an island. A group of well-to-do guests come to this island to try his creations, his new restaurant here, and things got a little weird. There's some foul play, to say the least. Ralph Fiennes' character, he's a little diabolical, and it's I don't want to give anything away. It's a fantastic movie. It's dark, it's spooky, but it's actually very funny too. It's got some really good performances. It's got a great ensemble cast, including but not limited to Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Hong Chow, Janet McTeer, Reed Birney, Judith Light, and John Leguizamo. I liked it a lot. I saw it with CJ a couple weeks back, and yeah, I was really, really pleasantly surprised. I just really enjoyed it. I thought this, again, I think this will be on my top 10 of the year as well. And the performances are just perfect, and the mood is just so unique, so different. Kind of reminds me of a little bit that feeling I got when I saw Midsummer. But yeah, I think it's in a league all of its own. But CJ, my partner in crime for that screening, what were your thoughts on The Menu?
I absolutely love The Menu. I had actually seen it like a week before And when we were hanging out, I said, "Hey, you want to go see the menu? It's really good. You should see it." And that's how you saw it. And
Yeah.
it honestly, it's such a good movie. It's like one that it feels like a movie that a lot of people aren't going to hear about or go see because it's such a hard one to describe.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's going to be one of those movies where someone's going to say like, "Oh, let's hang out. What do you want to watch?" And they're going to say, "Oh, you know what's a movie I saw that's great? You should watch The Menu." And it's going to be one of those like cult classics that spreads by like you showing it to unsuspecting people, and they take it in for the first time, and they're definitely going to recommend it to people.
This is a perfect midnight screening, I'd say.
It is. It's
Perfect.
the horror is great. Like when it comes in, it's so shocking, but it's so like purposefully done. Like it's nothing like over the top or like meant to be like, like it's not like a trashy horror film where there's like so many ways you could have done this movie lazily, and they made
Mhm.
such smart decisions. Everything is used so like perfectly and precisely. Like this is a movie that like it came out exactly how they wanted it to, and I think that is such a success for it.
And I'd say I give most of the credit, to the screenwriters here, Seth Rice and Will Tracy, who also worked with director Mark Mylod, who together, these three men have crafted such a fantastic horror film, horror-ish, thriller-ish
Yeah,
drama.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a black comedy thriller.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to say
Yeah.
it's a horror movie because
Right.
it has all the trappings of one. Like this feels like so many movies you've seen where like, oh, it's going to be one of those strange death game kind of ones where it seems like everyone's going to get picked off one by one, and then
Right.
it's just like they take your expectation of that and turn it on its head by just giving you something so different but so very good.
Really,
Yeah.
really fresh, just like the dishes. And my favorite power couple, what were your thoughts on The Menu? Rachel, I'm looking at you specifically.
Well, so first off, I wanted to mention that 2 out of the 3 directors and writers on this actually worked together also in Succession, which you can absolutely see, especially in their characterization of the ultra rich.
Okay.
It's just so well done and not cartoonish.
Yeah.
It gets very specific in a lot of its references and a lot of the sort of language, particularly the language that Janet McTeer uses to describe the food as a food critic.
Right.
When I first saw the trailers for this, I was on board with it, but I did think that it was going to be just a straight up eat the rich, like black comedy, and it's not that. It is I think the best way to describe this is, do you love cult shows? Do you love cooking shows?
Yeah.
And do you like black comedy? Like, because it's all 3 of those things. And those are 3 things that I adore. I love a good documentary about cults. I love watching people make really amazing food. And I love a good, joke that I shouldn't laugh at.
Okay. Nicely said there. Eric, what was your take?
I loved it. It was definitely one of my favorite. I was on board from like the moment the movie started. I was just constantly just right in it. And I agree. It is the black humor is really what got to me, especially just Ralph Fiennes just owns every second of the screen that he is on. His chef is just so like you understand with the charisma, the anger, and everything. And also I think because there's not a weak link in this cast. Like everybody's just performing so well. Like Islamos as the superstar, loved him. But I think the one that I weirdly liked the most was the weird morbid obsession of Nicholas Holt's character. That's the one that I wasn't expecting. Like every time you found out a little bit more about him, I'm just like, geez.
Yeah.
But no, I don't want to give away too much because again, it's one of those movies that the less you know going in blind, better about ever. But I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it.
It's so tricky reviewing this movie without revealing too much because
because I mean, like kind of in the same sense of what the whole setup is. It is set up as a menu that has to present itself with each element, and it does that very well.
Yeah,
and just how it keeps escalating.
And I'll say also, you've all mentioned, of course, that Ralph Fiennes is very charismatic in this movie. He really like. I hate to always bring this back to cults, but he is the perfect cult leader that they lay out here. He's highly charismatic. He has very specific rules for his followers, and he also always breaks his own rules. He is a giant hypocrite.
Interesting.
His performance was so fantastic for this. Like,
Yeah.
it really is just such a great movie where it could go into caricature so easily, but like they made everyone so ridiculous and over the top, but in a very like real personal way. Like it's not like, oh, let's have this kind of character be here. It's that let's have this character be this kind of person who sells himself this way and knows that they're lying about it, or like who is like so convinced of themselves as like this picture in their head and then reveal that it's not. And like it feels like it's not so much punishing them because they're all super rich, although that is kind of in essence what's there, but it's also because these are the kind of people who become super rich and just the system is kind of broken. And it feels like it's a lot more pointed of this is kind of what the movie's about. It's just how capitalism and like taken to these excesses just really destroys and damages people, and then just kind of showing this all coming to a head on this one night in a restaurant.
It's very much kind of the idea of everything is a zero-sum game. So it's dog eat dog, and everyone's out for each other no matter where they are, whether it's a critic, a chef, a movie star, a banker. You know, it's just like whatever your role is. It's you're not there to help prop up. You're there to take away, which is I think a very interesting way to take a look at that.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things though in the movie is just the critic who reviews the food, just like her using these big fancy words and just trying to sum it up, and then she basically says exactly what Ralph Fiennes says, like as the chef explaining the dish, and she just rewords it and gives exactly that. And I'm like, I'm just imagining the chef over here and that going like, okay, I understand why he's going to kill her. This makes perfect sense in my head now. And it's like that's the kind of movie it is.
Right.
But
you know
what I'm saying though about the contradictions, that it's like that at one time he's very angry about a piece of art that he consumed that was very disappointing and bad, but at the same time that he is so hypercritical of critics in general and blaming them for various ills within the culinary world.
Yes.
And again, that's like the contradictions coming in.
That just leads to such a really strong character. Like I got a good piece of writing advice recently where like so many people are afraid of like writing a character to make sense, that they have to be consistent. And the best advice that I heard was someone saying a character should have contradictions to them. That makes them human. And I'm like, that makes so much sense and just makes any character more interesting.
And also each and every one of these characters is so fascinating, so different, but they're not really over the top, which I really, really respected. They're they seem like just a normal group of people you would encounter in everyday life, whether it be a
super rich restaurant.
But
very super rich.
I don't know. I kind of,
but it's like you could believe these people existed. Like
exactly.
It's not.
They're not like over the top, is what I'm saying.
Well,
they are very real.
I think that's where the succession, like the successionness of it all comes in, because Succession is very similar. This is a family that has very little connection to the everyman. Like just is so wealthy and so powerful that they really don't have any real problems. Like all of their but at the same time, they make those characters really interesting, and then at different points that you kind of end up aligning yourself with different ones, especially of the siblings. You kind of end up for maybe part of a season rooting for one sibling and then going, oh no, it would be terrible if they were in charge. Never mind.
I want to talk a little about the dishes, which are so imaginative. So, Rachel, have you ever served foam? Have you ever dealt with foam before?
I've not. That is extremely that's kind of past what I'm in currently right now.
Not working in foam.
I can't say that I'm dealing much with foams and gels, that sort of
Okay.
that sort of culinary, but I mean, it's definitely something you find in fine dining.
Cool. Yeah, it reminded me of this other movie called The Dinner, which was about these two well-to-do families and their sons who both commit a really heinous crime. And basically, these two families meet over a very fancy dinner to basically discuss the legal issue, what their sons' futures are. And each dish is just so well crafted and so unique stylistically. So it definitely reminded me of this movie and vice versa. But Rachel, I know you mentioned off camera you wanted to discuss a little bit like food on film. What are some of your favorite films that deal with food?
Well, I have to bring it up because I was reminded of this movie when we were watching it.
Okay.
I was reminded of Chef,
Yes.
the Jon Favreau film, specifically a confrontation that he has with a food critic towards the beginning of the movie, when he starts screaming and throwing a lava cake and saying, "I'm not needy, I'm not cloying," and it very much reminded me of a very similar interaction that happens in this movie.
Yes, yeah, that was Oliver Platt, right?
To know that he is not needy and he is not cloying and he does not need their approval.
Nice. Yeah,
But
that
he
was
really wants their approval.
the critic was Oliver Platt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Yeah,
Oh, it's so good. That's one of those
Oh,
movies that
and-
I'll just keep rewatching every now and then. I'll just throw it on.
Yeah.
And also with John Leguizamo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Making connections there.
Yeah. He's like, is there going to be good food? Okay, I'm there.
No, I mean, well, considering how much of both Chef and Menu deal with the idea of cooking and art and perceptions of art, I can definitely see what the through line is between Chef and the Menu.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would place Chef is at the top of the list, followed by Ratatouille, I'd say.
Yes.
Ratatouille
Another
was
great
good.
one.
I liked the 100-Foot Journey. I thought was a very good kind of cooking movie.
Was that the one with Helen Mirren?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, the Indian restaurant.
Yeah, it's an Indian family moves to like a British town, and obviously the stuffy British restaurant across the street from them like isn't really happy seeing their kind of cultural food showing up, but it ends up being a very nice movie about them connecting. And yeah, it was also an interesting one of like the journey of a chef kind of getting embroiled in the search for perfection.
Yeah. Oh, another one. This one was starred Bradley Cooper and Uma Thurman, called Burnt. Came out a couple years ago, and that was like just a real cutthroat of being in the kitchen. Yes, chef. No chef, left, right.
Yeah, I think they just put that on Netflix. Also, I can't believe it took me this long to think of this one. The Bear.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
It's on Hulu. It is such a great show. It's one of my favorites of the year.
Absolutely.
That movie, the best way I could describe that show is that it feels like you're having a panic attack. Someone reached into your chest, pulled it out, and shows it to you.
As good as that
It's
show is, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was in a really tough time in my life, like when the show came out, and I put on the first episode, and like I felt myself, like my heart racing, like I'm in this moment, like I know exactly how this character feels of everything falling apart, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it was like, this is so hard to watch, and I kept wanting to turn it off, and I just let each episode play. And every episode, it's about just this world famous chef moving into like this rundown kitchen with his brother's restaurant. None of the other cooks like him, but slowly each episode they start coming together. They start learning how to work together as a team, and it's such like a nice kind of healing experience of like the anxiety going down, things coming together, and it's such a cathartic watch. I recommend it so highly.
You
Well,
say
actually-
that, but I feel that there needs to be an anxiety warning on the
Yeah.
one shot episode.
Yeah,
because,
Oh yeah,
my
that one
God.
also is like, it's coming, like as everything keeps going together, it's like something's going to go wrong,
Oh,
and
man.
you can't be ready for
Yeah,
that.
that is what
it's so
20,
good.
25 minutes of just me being like,
Oh yeah, I felt that the whole time. It's like it was going so well.
yeah.
Well,
we
and
don't review a lot of TV on this show, but
Yeah.
Bear is
The
up
Bear
there.
was so
The
good.
Bear is definitely up there TV wise for me. And Rachel, I want to thank you for bringing that into my life.
Yes.
Oh, I just thought of another good movie about cooking.
What?
The Waitress.
That is a very good one.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Both the movie and the musical.
Yes, yes. Waitress, I mean, the fact that it's not only an outlet for her creativity, it's also an outlet for a lot of the like life events that are going on and a lot of her struggles.
Yeah.
Like
With her and her
from
pies.
from the very beginning that she's like, I don't want no damn baby pie.
Wait, was that Maggie Gyllenhaal or Kerry Russell?
That was Carrie Russell.
Yeah,
Kerry
Kerry
Russell.
Russell and Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, doctor.
Nice. Okay.
Waitress is a fantastic.
Yeah, and it's
Adding-
also Andy Griffin's last role.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
And I also want to do a weird special shout out to the food that I've always wanted to know what it was, and that's from the dinner scene from Hook of whatever that food that the Lost Boys were eating. That Peter remembers that weird
Colorful
gelatin
Play-Doh.
stuff.
It was
Yeah.
basically Play-Doh.
Yeah, but it was like weirdly edible, and I've always been curious, like, what are they eating?
Pure
It's just
sugar.
colors.
It's just sugar.
It probably is. You're probably right. It's probably just colored sugar. That's all it
Yes.
is.
Probably not even that. It's probably colored shaving
Yeah,
cream.
probably. Especially during the food fight, how well it splatters.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
And I mean, there's so many ways that food can be used in storytelling, whether it be something like as a signifier of class, of race, of like tradition. I mean, a perfect example of that is Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
I mean, all three of those are really represented in Crazy Rich Asians.
Hmm.
And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention like Water for Chocolate, which is uses food in magical realism and just tells this beautiful story about someone that is constantly not being able to say what they're feeling and all of their feelings coming out magically through the food that they cook.
I love it. Yeah, when you can actually taste whatever is on screen in your head, then I think that's a successful film. They've achieved their goal. But back to the menu. I think it's unanimous. I think we're all fans, and we would recommend this to anyone, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
two movies that are going to be in my top 10, Menu and Pinocchio.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Also, because I forgot to mention with the other cooking movies, Pig. Just Nicolas Cage, such a great
yes.
movie, such a good use of food.
Yes.
I could talk about that movie forever. And I think I'd probably mention that on your podcast. I feel like I've come on and talked about Pig at some point.
It's a great movie.
Big
It should be discussed over and over again because I don't think a lot of people saw it, and
Yeah.
should have, because
They should. Yeah.
It's a great.
I think it's
Go
because
see
the
Menu,
problem-
go see the Pig.
Yeah.
I've always said I think the problem with Pig is there's a John Wick expectation, and it's like no. It is not about a revenge story of where's my pig, blah, 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 blah. But it is a movie about the emotions that food gives us.
Yeah, it's a revenge story about him getting back his pig, but instead of using guns like John Wick, it's just emotional introspection and the most brutal honesty, and it's so
Agreed.
good.
Yep.
And that's what shocked me about it. That's why I love that movie so much.
And I think
Yeah.
Stephen, you and I discussed the scene where where Cage goes to the fancy restaurant to speak to his
Yeah,
old
no,
colleague.
that's a scene that like you can't tell people that scene's in the movie. They have to experience
They have
it.
to experience
Like
it.
it's so hard to say. Like that's the thing. There are some movies that are so good, but you can't say why. I feel like The Menu is one of them, but then also like Pig and like Barbarian. Like those are movies where like I can't tell you what happens. You just need to trust
have
me
to-
and watch this.
Yeah, exactly. Don't watch the trailer. Don't just strap it in.
Like
and just enjoy it.
I have such a hard time convincing people to go see Pig, and it's like everyone who saw it like absolutely loved it. And same thing for The Menu. I feel like everyone you say like go see this movie, you're gonna love it, they will fully enjoy it.
True. Agreed.
I love it. Now I'm kind of hungry.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I just want to talk real quick. We have a few upcoming releases, theatrical releases, and this one looks fairly interesting. It's got a great cast. It's called Babylon, and it is a historical dramedy directed by Damien Chazelle, who did Whiplash. He's a fantastic director. I think he did First Man, which was about Neil Armstrong.
So underappreciated.
And La La Land.
First Man is so underappreciated.
It is, right?
Grand Piano, which is also really great.
But yeah, First Man, yeah, Eric, you never hear anyone talk about this.
Oh, I saw that movie. I'm like, this is good. And then when they get to the moon, I was just jaw on the ground. Like the catharsis of that whole moon landing, I was not ready for it.
That was such a good movie.
Yeah, it was really,
Yeah, no, for
really,
like the, at first it's so good.
I mean, I would consider Apollo 13 my favorite, astronaut movie, not NASA related. First Man's probably number 2, I think.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah. But Babylon was pretty cool. It's got Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Gene Smart.
Yeah,
And,
no, the trailers look great. It's got Toro Maguire in it too.
oh, nice. That's awesome.
What looks to be nice about it is it looks like it's finally one is about, we always kind of idolize old Hollywood. There were some screwed up stuff that were happening behind the scenes of classic Hollywood.
Well, maybe this movie will shed some light on that.
I think that's exactly. It is like it was drugs, orgies, and all kinds of things.
Cool. They should do a movie about behind the scenes of Wizard of Oz, because I think there was some crazy stuff with the little people.
Rachel can tell you all about that.
Oh, that's another episode.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. We got I Want to Dance with Somebody, which is the Whitney Houston biopic. It's got Stanley Tucci. So that should be pretty good. We've got a movie called Corsage. It's a biographical drama, historical drama. And we've got on Christmas Day, Write It Black, which is a comedy, and also The Port, which is a biographical drama. So some good stuff coming up. And so guys, we have a few minutes left. I just want to do some plugs. What's going on? Any projects we want to talk about? Mr. Oakland?
Nothing going on, believe me. I have enough going on in my life that I have not been able to work on much. So
Gotcha. All right. Well, hopefully I'll have you back on soon, sir. And my favorite power couple, what's going on? Any plugs this week?
Well, of course, stop by the Law of Donut Engineering, the Lodge in Jersey City Heights. We have our December menu right now. There's some really good stuff on it, including my recipe from last year, December, Santa's Jammies. And that is a jam-filled donut with a crisp brulee cinnamon sugar top. And the jam in it is delicious. It's like we make it, like I make it there at
nice.
the Law of Donut Engineering. So it's really good. And
Nice.
of course, you could follow our dog Dobby on Instagram at Dobby the House Dog.
Passed out off
Yeah. And you can follow my baking adventures on Second Act Bake Shop on Instagram. And trying to think if there's anything else. I think that should about do it. And I will just say one quick thing. Watch We're Here on HBO Max because it continues to be great.
Okay. We're Here. Nice. I think you mentioned that last week too.
Yes, I did. And I will continue mentioning it because it's great.
I might watch it after this show, actually. We'll see.
Every Friday, I think, is when it airs.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So it goes up on HBO Max the next day.
And Rachel, are you ever going to apply for a baking show?
I would love to once I get, I think, a little bit more experience, but
Okay.
I would love to,
Would you go bake at Hawthorne Island?
Absolutely not. No, I have said no more toxic workplaces.
there you go.
That is the ultimate toxic workplace.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Godfrey, any plugs for you this week?
No, I do not. I eat the donuts are delicious.
Yes. Very good. Very good. All right, guys. Well, as for me, if you guys watching at home and on your devices want to check out new episodes of Under the Radar, just tune in every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Manhattan Neighborhood Network's cable TV channels, and that is FiOS 34, RCN Astound 83, and Spectrum 56 and 1996. Also, for previous episodes and content of Under the Radar, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Unger with a G, Under the Radar. Check that out. Subscribe and share. So guys, CJ, Rachel, Eric, thank you so much. This was another great episode. I'm so happy to have spent this hour with you discussing great films. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm Randy Younger. This has been Under the Radar. See you next time, guys.